Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kaiya, and today I'm going to be reviewing and sharing my thoughts to the new 2024 horror movie, Longlegs. So in this video, I will be doing my review spoiler-free in the first section of this video, and then we'll be getting into spoilers and just kind of openly talking about the film. So without further ado, let's get into the review and answer the question: is Longlegs the scariest movie of 2024? FBI agent Lee Harker is assigned to an unsolved serial killer case that takes an unexpected turn, revealing evidence of the occult. Harker discovers a personal connection to the killer and must stop him before he strikes again. Now, this film was directed by Oz Perkins, who I know as playing dorky David in Legally Blonde, which is literally one of my favorite movies of all time. But it's also starring Nicolas Cage as Longlegs, of course, and then Micah Monroe playing Lee Harker. So before I actually went to the theater to see this movie, I had read on Twitter from several people that the opening scene of this film was one of the scariest, if not the scariest scene in the entire film. And a lot of people were saying that this movie was very unsettling and unnerving and just very, very tense throughout the entire film. And I'm gonna tell you right now, girl, that scene, whoo, I was one of the only people that actually screamed out loud. So after the opening scene, I was very, very much on the edge of my seat, and I was tense through this entire movie. And honestly, the positives for me on this movie was definitely the use of color. The cinematography was amazing. There were so many beautiful shots in this film. I love the aesthetic. I just love the costume design. The entire movie is set in the 90s too, which I think is great. It's definitely a different spin and a different decade rather than it being, you know, either set in the 70s or 80s or in a modern world. I feel like there's not a lot of movies, modern movies, that are set in the 90s too often, at least in my opinion. And like I said, the cinematography of this movie was outstanding. Every single shot had a purpose, and there was so much depth to each and every frame, especially when Lee is like alone in her house. Sue would be sitting, you know, at her desk. She'd be on the phone calling her mom, you know, simple scene. But in the background, the way the camera is shot, you see this open doorway leading into her kitchen. And it just, because you expect something to appear in that doorway or show up or whatever and come towards the camera, come towards Lee. And it's so unnerving. The entire film makes you feel like something is lurking around the corner. And I feel like Micah did a pretty good job at playing Lee, who in the film, she's kind of this quiet, intuitive, tiny woman, you know? Like, she just seems so like small and frail in a way and very innocent, but you can tell that like her character has just like seen some shit, you know. She has seen something. There's something kind of dark and eerie. There's something troubling her. Like, my one criticism as far as like her character goes is that I feel like it's a little stereotypical with the kind of like detective with a sixth sense, you know. It's like, oh yeah, this detective like is gonna crack the case after, you know, decades of not being able to do it. That's how you get the case to be cracked, I guess. Now, Nicolas Cage, of course, I think is the highlight of this film because he's obviously Longlegs, so he's the antagonist of the film. And I'm gonna tell you right now, okay, for me, it wasn't great for me personally, because I just don't know how good of a casting decision it was to have Nicolas Cage as the antagonist. And that's not to say that Nicolas Cage is not a good actor. I love Nicolas Cage, but I also feel like he's kind of this meme actor. Everybody loves Nicolas Cage. I mean, he's, you know, done a variety of different films, from comedy horror movies like Willy's Wonderland to Primal, which I recently watched, to of course National Treasure, which is one of my favorite movies. So like, he's very, very diverse as an actor. So Admittedly, going into this movie, knowing that Nicolas Cage was in it, I was like, I don't see how it could possibly be the scariest movie of the year because it's got Nicolas Cage in it, you know? Because I just don't think that Nicolas Cage could ever possibly be in the scariest movie, if that kind of makes sense, because I just don't see him as that kind of actor. Now, that being said, I do think that he did play his part very well. I do think that he did his best, but I also think that, you know, it's Nicolas Cage. So if you can separate the fact that it's Nicolas Cage from Longlegs, then I think it will be a better viewing experience. But if you've seen some of his more funny movies, like Not the Beast, then some of the scenes where he's like yelling and shouting, it might be a little funny. I'm just gonna tell you right now. Basically, I was laughing at some of the scenes with him, which was not the appropriate scenes where I should have been laughing. I was giggling because that's what I was thinking about. But I honestly think, this is the last thing I'll say about Nicolas Cage, but I honestly think they should have recasted the role and not have chosen Nicolas Cage. That may seem very mean, but if they wanted this movie, I think, to be taken seriously as like the scariest movie of 2024, they should have casted that role to somebody else that didn't have such a kind of beloved meme following, because in my opinion, casting Nicolas Cage as this role was similar to, you know, hiring Steven Seagal as like the Zodiac killer, you know? This movie kept me up at night for like 2 days straight. I had to have a little nightlight on. I woke up several times in the night, at least the first night, after seeing this movie, because I was so unsettled. I think that is what makes a horror movie successful, and it was just very unsettling. And even now, I still think about it, and I still linger on everything that happened. And so I think for that, you know, they did a really, really good job on this film, and I think everybody acted very well. I did not like the ending. The ending was very rushed, in my opinion, and it just was lackluster. And I feel like they spent so much beautiful time and energy and effort building up the tension and building up this story for like 2/3 of the film, just to like wrap it up in like 10 minutes, it felt like. So the ending for me personally was not very good, and I just wanted a lot more. Now we're gonna get into spoilers, so I will encourage you to click off the video if you do not want to hear spoilers, okay? I don't want to ruin the movie for anybody, but if you go past this point, girl, that's your fault, okay? So yeah, we're just gonna jump right into spoilers, and yeah, let's talk about the first twist of the movie, and that is you know, basically Longlegs and the dolls and the satanic occult twist. So going into this film, again, I thought, okay, it's going to be a serial killer movie. And so for me personally, I didn't know that this movie was going to have a supernatural element to it, a supernatural twist. And I feel like that I have not seen that really happen before. A serial killer movie mixed with like this demonic entity, you know, supernatural twist, like it coming, those two things coming together. So that was a very interesting twist, in my opinion. And the use of like using the dolls, and then we see the orbs within the dolls, which kind of has the, I don't know if it's like our character's like soul, or if it's like part of the devil that's in there, or like what the energy is within the actual silver ball. But I thought that that was kind of interesting. It makes me think that it's some sort of, I mean, they mentioned like voodoo doll in the actual movie, so I think that it's some sort of like spiritual essence of that person, you know, because when Lee's mom shoots her doll, you know, you see the black smoke, so of course you think, okay, well, that's like connected to her in some way. I will say, as soon as like the dolls were revealed, it kind of lost a little bit of its pizzazz for me, because it made me think of the movie Annabelle, which I'm just not much of like a doll person. It's just not my thing. I'd rather see like serial killers. I did like the idea, like I said, of using the silver balls, and then I do think it was kind of interesting that that was how the devil would be invited into the home. So the other twist is that Ruth's mother is Longlegs' accomplice. So she is the one who would take the dolls into the house. She would be the friend of the friend for the devil and let him do his thing, and then she have to sit there and watch the murders. They are like, oh, we have no DNA evidence, we have no fingerprints, nothing like that. And then we have a scene where Ruth is going into her car, and she like holds her face like this and has blood like all over her hands. And it's like, how would you get out of the house like that? Like, how would you get out of the house like that? How would you open the door? Like, how are you getting blood all over your hands? Like, how is nobody seeing you come out of the house? Like, those are some of the things that just don't really add up to me. And then, I think that there were some other questions with the end. Like, part 3, I feel like was super, super rushed, like I said. And it was just like, boop, fart in the wind, and then it's done. I don't understand why Lee didn't shoot the doll first, in that final scene. Or at least, like, shoot the father and then shoot the doll to like end the curse and the possession or whatever it was. And I also don't understand why she didn't stop the dad from killing the mom. It just doesn't really make much sense, because it's like, his mom's like, oh, she's already dead, but it's like, you just let her just be murked in the kitchen and you didn't do anything. You just sat there like stunned. I don't know. It's just a little interesting. So for me, I didn't like the ending. And I also didn't like that Longlegs didn't last as long as I wanted him to. I felt like his, killing was, the way he died was interesting. I thought that was gory, that was gruesome, definitely gave me some queasy feels, but I feel like he died so early, and it was just like, I feel like it would have been much more satisfying if Longlegs had been there until the end, and there was more of like a climactic like battle between Longlegs and the devil and her mom, and like her, and like, taking the kid maybe, or just something, because it's like, I feel like it just ended, So that's kind of my thoughts on it. I do think it is very unsettling. As far as the scariest movie of 2024, I will say I do think it's scarier than, A Quiet Place Day One, for sure. I left A Quiet Place Day One being like, ugh, this is like a B-rated, action thriller movie. So I definitely think out of the like horror thriller movies I've seen, I do think that Longlegs is up there. I think it's probably my favorite movie of the year so far. Yeah, you'll have to let me know down below in the comments what you think about this movie, Longlegs. Did you enjoy it? Have you seen it yet? Are you excited to see it? What are your thoughts? What do you think? Did you agree or disagree with anything that I said in the video? Yeah, let me know too if you want to see any more movie reviews like this. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, you guys.